I'm Kate and I make junk journals, and today we're gonna finish this journal by decorating the cover. And guess what? There's 2 secret pockets in the cover. How cool is that? We all know why we're here today. Finish this cover. So if you haven't been following along, I will put the link to where I made this cover. And there's a whole list of tutorials for all of the pages that we did in our signatures, as well as everything we did to the folios that are inside our cover. But whether or not you're making this journal, this is a really fun cover, and it works for any journal. So let me show you. The inspiration for this kind of cover was what I did with my journal cover. I made it to where there is a pocket inside the cover. So this is between the cover layer and this paper I glued on the cover. And then I love to use fabric for the spine. I pretty much always and only do that. I have made a few with paper, but I prefer fabric. And this one wrapped all the way around the back, but I'm not gonna do that this time because I kind of made this in an order that is little annoying. I should have definitely done the cover before I put these panels on so that I could wrap fabric or paper around the edges. But because I didn't that, I'm gonna make the paper that I'm decorating the cover flush with the pages on the cover, which will be great and fun for pockets. And I'll be doing that to the front and the back since there's not room to wrap fabric around, and I don't like having just like the frayed edge of the fabric there. You could do that, but I'm gonna use paper. So let's dive in. I'm gonna remove all my guts out of the cover. And let's flip this sucker around and take a look. Oh, ugly Cheerio box. Can't wait to see you go. I kind of like to start with choosing my fabrics before I choose the paper, just because I have more paper than I do fabrics. So here are 2 options I've got today. I have this pink, cute little organic with like some little leafy flowery things. And then here's really a lovely but pretty neutral design with some blues, and blues go with everything in my journal. So I kind of tend to gravitate toward pinks and blues, so one of these should work great. Now I'm just gonna kind of rummage through the paper until I find something that I think would be a good cover. The kind of paper that I use will really make a difference on how I decorate the cover. If I have something that's like really busy, then I probably won't like collage as much on top of it. But if I had something pretty plain, I would want to do more collaging. But you can keep it simple. Any style will be great. I actually really like some of these darker greenish things, almost turn like a grayish, and it actually almost matches this bluish. And I really like the way that this fabric looks with this. So I'm going to choose this paper, and I'm going to set the fabric aside because I don't need that yet. We're going to work with our paper first. So I'm going to want to measure this pretty as exact as I can to be flush with this cover. Now it doesn't have to be perfect width-wise because that fabric is going to bleed over and I have some wiggle room, but I want it to be as perfect as I can top to bottom for sure. So I'll put that all the way against the top and just mark right on that little line. Then I'll cut right on that mark, trying to be as accurate as I can. Okay, that's just about right. All right, and for the width, like I said, you're gonna have some wiggle room. So I leave like a 1/4 of an inch maybe from that crease, and I'll just kind of bend it somewhere close to there and pinch, and then I'll cut along that little pinched edge. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing for the back side, although I might want this for the back side because then I get this kind of dark edge along that, and this corner is a little bit blank. So maybe we'll stick this one here and we'll pinch it somewhere about a 1/4 of an inch away from that edge. Okay, so now we have our 2 papers all ready to go. So when I put these on there, I'm going to not just glue the whole back side. I'm going to glue them on just 3 edges to make a pocket, so we have a pocket on our cover. Now we already kind of did this because when we put this panel on, we made a little pocket between the panel and the cover. So I already have a panel on the side, so I'm going to glue it here, here, and here so that the panel comes from the top. Now I have like this little side cover pocket and a top cover pocket. And on the back, we don't really have anything coming out the side, and we're already doing it on the top on this side, so we're gonna do it to where it's gonna stick out on the edge. So we'll glue that one here, here, and here. So let's glue those on there. And as I glue, I really want to make sure that I'm gluing all the way to the edge. And if it gushes out a little bit, that's fine. I'll just wipe it and I'll kind of rub to make sure those 2 edges edges are nice and glued together. Try not to spill too much out, but you definitely want it to be sealed all the way up to the edge so that the paper doesn't start peeling away from the edge. So I'm going to use my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and again on the front cover we're going here, here, and here. And one more thing is, depending on how big you want whatever tag or card or whatever you're putting in this pocket, maybe you don't want it to have to go that deep, and maybe you want something more shallow. So you can bring this line up as tall as you want, or measure if you have a card you want to use, and then bring it so that it's not quite so deep, and kind of custom fit it to be whatever you want to put in there. So now that's glued, I'm going to flip it around and just bring it right up to those edges, and I want it right up to this edge and the top and bottom. Not so worried about that edge. Let's swing that folio out so I can kind of press it down better. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, now we're going to do the same side, except for this time we're going to glue the underneath here, here, and here. Okay, so I'm going to take that and put that down as well, nice and close to that edge. Okay, now we're going to put the fabric on. So I'm going to take my fabric now, and I'm going to just measure. This is a little more than 7 inches. It's probably about 7 1/4 to 7 1/2. And this is a little over 8 inches. So I, thankfully, do have enough room underneath to kind of wrap this over and glue that down to kind of fit that on there. I'm going to measure the fabric to be about 1/2 inch on either side longer than the spine so that it will wrap around the edges. So because I have stuff that it might interfere with, I'm going to measure on this side, but normally if this was clear I'd measure on the outside to see where I'd like it to fit. So this will go up right there before that blocks me. This one I can go as long as I want, but we'll make it kind of symmetrical and do it about there. All I have to do is get my scissors, make a little snip where I want it to cut, and then just tear that along the seam. And this is about as tall as I want it. I want it to be able to wrap on either side, just about 1/2 inch on either side. Kind of lucked out that this piece of fabric is already right what I need it to be. Otherwise I would just kind of measure a little above, a little below, and do the same thing. So depending on your fabric, if it's really thick, then the glue isn't going to go through. But most fabrics that I use are quite thin, so if you glob way too much glue, the glue is just going to go right through and you're going to have really shiny, ugly glue marks. So you want to layer it as evenly as you can and kind of thin. Now, if you do it splotchy and there's not glue everywhere, then it might kind of bubble or move, or you'll be able to kind of see it ripple or wrinkle underneath the fabric. So the goal is to cover it as evenly as you can while not getting it way too globby. So it's a little bit hard, and if it ends up being a little wrinkly or globby, it's okay, but just try your best to make it as smooth and even as you can. I also like to do it in little sections because this glue dries really fast, so I don't want to be working hard on making it sure it's even while the top part is drying. So I'll just do a little section at a time. So I'm actually going to start with the very middle, and I'm going to draw a line and then another line, and then just kind of swirl the middle of that as even as I can, just lightly, and try to get it everywhere. Okay, and once that's done, I'm going to take this and line it where I need it to be, get it fairly even, and then press that down. Okay, and then I'll peel this open and glue right along that line that I made. Make another little line, kind of scooping under to make sure that I didn't miss a spot. Then I'm going to do it right over that crease, making sure that that fold right there really gets it good, and that I get it right on there and everywhere around it. Okay, and once that's done, I'm going to just kind of rub it over, making sure that kind of with my fingernails, I get it on that fold line really good, because it's going to kind of divot in, and I want to make sure it's got a good grip on the fabric. And then we're just going to finish up the edge. So just go right along the edge. If you spill over, it's okay because there's ways of covering it up, but I like to try to keep it all under the fabric if I can, and then just smooth that down. And it looks like I'm pretty crooked, like always, but don't worry, I'm going to fix that. Okay, so now I'm going to come on this side and kind of pull it back to where I can see everything that's not glued, and just kind of get in there with my glue and do the same thing on this side. Okay, we'll smooth down that last edge, and then go ahead and flip it around, and we'll take each of these flaps and just glue them over like that. So we're going to make a little line right on the edge, like on the top of the cover where I'll be wrapping around, and then swirl some glue down here, and then push that around like that. And then depending on the fabric, sometimes I will need to put little clips around to keep it wrapped around. This one is holding really well, so these aren't necessary, but I'll do that anyway just because I often have to do that when the fabric likes to spring out while it's drying. So we'll go ahead and do the bottom side now, making a little line right here and swirling some glue. Flip that up, and if you want, you can clip those as well. Okay, once that's dry, go ahead and take off the clips. And before I sew it in, I would just kind of like to put another reinforcement there. I usually just grab a priority mail envelope. It's made of Tyvek, and that is really good because it's hard to rip. Or you could just put another piece of cardstock on there, or you don't have to reinforce it, but because my journals are so heavy, I do not want them to rip. So once I put some Tyvek on there, I will take another piece of fabric, and I'll go ahead and kind of make it close to the same as the other fabric, to where it just goes over each of the folds just a little bit, and I'll rip that down. So that will go in between there, and I might actually bring that down a tiny bit more and make it a little thinner. And then I will have this show a little bit of a border, and that show the top a little bit of a border so that it's shorter than the outside, and just snip that. And after I put in my Tyvek or paper or reinforcement, I'm gonna glue that on as well before I sew them in. But I don't want to sew in the signatures today. I've already sewn in signatures 2 times, and so I have a tutorial just on that. If you want to check that out, I'll put that in the description. And I also did it when I made an entire cover last time and sewed in the signatures. So I'm gonna be doing that separately, but I just wanted to show you that that's how I will finish off making the inside look pretty and not just leave it blank cardboard. So maybe I'll just kind of leave that in there so I don't lose it or forget about it. Let's go back to the cover. So let's fix how crooked it is. I'm really good at making crooked stuff, but luckily I'm also good at fixing crooked stuff. So here's some different lace and ribbons. Okay, what do we want to do? So we could totally do something like crazy thick and fat. We could even like cover some of the fabric. We could do something bulky and bumpy with lots of texture. We could just keep it really smooth and simple. What should we do? Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with big chunky lace in the back and blue in the front. Kind of vary it up. So I'll just measure these to be the same length as the cover. Cut that across. And for this one, I'm gonna wrap the top and bottom around because I have a little bit more room on the other side, whereas this side will get into that folio. So I'll leave a little bit on the top, a little bit on the bottom. Then I'll just make a little line of glue, trying to keep it straight, trying to not follow the fabric, but what actually looks straight, and then just kind of swirl it so it catches some of that lace. If I bend this, I can kind of see the edge better, and I can line that up so that it looks more straight than that crazy crooked thing that I did. And then I'll come back here and just kind of make sure I got those edges. Press that down there. Okay, so that's glued on there nicely. Let's bring it around this side. Take our ribbon. Same thing, we're just gonna glue it to where it's actually straight, and then we'll try to line this up nice and straight. There we go. Then we'll open it up, see if we can wrap this around a little bit. And I can use one of these to pinch it down, and then we'll glue this top one. We'll clip that on there, let that dry. Okay, and while that's kind of drying, let's think about what we want to do for the cover. So I think I want to make some kind of collage, so I'm going to bring out some pieces and just start kind of playing around with them. Maybe we want even a writing thing on the front. That might be kind of fun. Who knows? I don't know what I'll actually end up with. I'm just going to grab too many that I need, start moving them around until my heart starts telling me that it's good. Okay, so that's what I came up with. I just have this little letter thing. This is beautiful. And then I have this that I'm going to actually cut so that some of it can be peeking out the other side. And then this little writing spot, someone could put their name or a sweet message if it's a gift, or just their favorite quote, or whatever they want this journal to be about. And then we'll put that little flower under there. And this just looks like a little clip, and we'll put that on so it looks like it's kind of clipped together. Kind of cute. So it's fairly simple, but I want to keep it simple because we have a lot of busyness already with this scrapbook paper. So that looks good. I'm going to hopefully remember what that looks like as I start gluing this together. So let's do this one first, and I'm going to need to cut that. So we'll chop that so that when this is on it, it will look like it's sticking out and it's that long. So we'll want it about that high. So I'll just glue these on. And I'm gonna have this overlap the ribbon just a tiny bit. This is the only thing that will do that. Make it look a little more layered, but it still keeps everything in bounds and it doesn't look too big. Then we'll put down this other side. And I do want a little bit of a gap between this and the edge so that it kind of seems contained and it's not too wide for my cover. Next, we'll have this piece, and let's just double check where that beautiful will go to see how high I want this. I think that's about good. So I'll just remember that point goes in between those two lines, and that's how I remember how high to put it. And I can put glue on here. And all these cute things came from Gwen Offutt's Etsy shop. And I have a link and a coupon in the description as well. Let's see, so I'm gonna put it about right there. Press that smooth. And then I'm gonna want this to be about right there. Okay, and then this is a sticker, but I am gonna also put some glue on it because I'm not sure how strong that sticker glue is, but I know that this is strong, so we'll just kind of reinforce it. Beautiful. And then we'll just glue this little clip on to make it look like the whole thing is kind of clipped together. So there's our beautiful cover. So let's take these off because those have been dry for a while. And let's find something to put in the pockets that we made. Okay, I'm gonna grab one of these cards from scrapbook.com, cut it to be whatever size I want it to be. So here's the back journal, so it's a side pocket, and it looks like I probably need to cut it somewhere around here in order to fit. So I'm just gonna make a little line right there and then chop off the rest of that. And let's see if that fits. Okay, and that is actually perfect because it barely goes in and it kind of stops as soon as it disappears. So I can use a tab, and then that tab is gonna stick out to the side of the book, which will look really cool. So here's a little tag sticker that I have. I think I got these from Hobby Lobby. And I'll just peel off those little stickers and clamp it to the side of this. I probably want it maybe a little to the side since that other one is kind of in the middle. So it kind of sticks out at a different place. And we'll just put that right there and stick that on. And we can stick it in our little pocket and it kind of sticks out right there. So we've got this little tab that's sticking out here, and then we've got that tag sticking out there. And now let's put something in the top, and I'll just grab this tag, try to slip it in there and see how far it goes. Okay, so I think I'm gonna try if I cut it right along that line. Let's see what happens then. Just like that. And then that kind of still peeks out just a tiny bit, just enough to barely grab. And then that will pull out like that. And then we'll have a little tag. So we'll put that back in there, and it's kind of fun because we have this kind of peeking out the top, some things peeking out the sides, and then we open it up and there's just tons and tons and tons to do. But look, that's it. That's our beautiful cover. And we are officially done decorating this whole journal. And I think it turned out really awesome. This might be the coolest junk journal I ever made. So like I said, now I'm going to reinforce that spine, sew in all the signatures, and then I will make a flip through of this so that you can make sure to remember all of the amazing tutorials we've been through and just admire this amazing junk journal. This is also gonna go on sale in my Etsy shop, so keep an eye out for that. I always put on my Instagram a little heads up when I'm going to be posting things on Etsy. I also always put a flip through before, so when I post my flip through, then that's when it will go on sale on Etsy. So thanks for crafting along with me, and thank you so much for those who have done this entire journal, and I can't wait to see them. I hope you send me a flip through. You can email me at katesjunkjournals@gmail.com, email pictures or videos or whatever you want, or you can just tag me on Instagram at katesjunkjournals. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share my videos. You guys are really the best, and I love hanging out with you guys every Monday, and I'll see you next week.